All right, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Samantha Pardo. I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Career Services at the Mark School of Public and International Affairs at Baruch College in Manhattan, New York. I'm joined here with my colleague Suzanne Grossman. Uh, Today's panel is one of my favorite panels of the DC virtual trek. We love just gathering a few of our NASPA students and alums who are in DC or have had their DC experiences to share a little bit about what they're doing. Because if any of you are considering doing a semester in DC or pursuing a career after DC, best to hear from them. Best to hear from them. So today, yes, so today's session from Campus to Capital, Life and Work in DC, we have three great panelists. So we have Priyanka Jayaseelan, JV Del Rosario, Colleen Popa, and I'm going to pass it off for them to introduce themselves. And let's start with Priyanka, because sorry, you're first on my screen. So yeah, just your name and just a little bit about your degree program and what you're currently doing in DC.
My name is Priyanka. I'm in DC, part of the Washington Semester Program, which is part of Baruch's Marxe School of Public and International Affairs. I am currently interning with Don't Cage Our Oceans, which is a NGO that focuses on aquaculture. I'll explain more of that later. But before that, I was interning with REP AOC in the Hill.
Great, thank you. I'll pass it off to you, JV. And also to note the time difference right now. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much, Samantha. Hi, everyone. I am JV Del Rosario. You can call me JV. I am part of the O'Neill School at Indiana University. I'm doing the DC Accelerator program. But right now, I am in Seoul, South Korea for an international youth conference.
Yes, sir. It's 1 a.m. So thank you for being up right now. And lastly, Colleen.
Hey everyone, my name is Colleen. I went to SUNY Albany. I did the MIA degree with a concentration in global and homeland security, and I moved to Washington, D.C. a little over a year ago for an internship with the federal government. And then I had another internship in the U.S. Senate, and now I work in procurement for a defense contractor.
Great, thank you. All right, so I'll kind of tie it back into there. So, first question is, I'd like you for you to tell us a little bit about your internship and job positions in DC and how your degree programs helped you get there. Let's start with JV. And then, JV, could you also talk a little bit about your application process to the accelerator program, too?
Sure. So I forgot to mention that I'm pursuing my MPA, Master of Public Affairs, with specialized concentration in international sustainable development and finance. I just finished my 6-month internship with the UNEP FI, the United Nations Environment Program Finance Initiative, where I was part of their implementation guidance team for the principles for responsible banking. I feel like my MPA program and my specialized concentration at that helped me land that career because it is policy focused. Other than that, it's also like into sustainable financing. So when I was interviewing for the position, I kind of highlighted the coursework that I am doing and that I already did, and also like how I could help translate these lessons to um, support their work at UNFFI. I'm also, for the second question on how I apply for the D6 Accelerator program, I signified my intention to join the program during my application. So I did like an additional essay on my motivation to join the program. And then as part of my admission packet, they also announced that I was one of the few selected individuals to pursue it. Currently in our cohort, I am the only international student.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I have a follow-up question on that coming up as well. All right, Priyanga, so if you could tell us a little bit more about your role, and I know there was a little bit of a change that happened as well, but I'll let you take that away.
I applied to the Washington semester program fully with huge intentions to work with my representative AOC, which everyone most likely knows her. And I thankfully got it, and I got the Washington semester program first, and once I got ASC, it was just solidified all the hard work that I did prior. But then the government shut down, and unfortunately, interns are considered non-essential, so they're kind of forced to furlough me. But I didn't want to not do work while I'm here. So that following week, I did a lot of networking and meeting new people, trying to get into different places that I can contribute, whatever I've been learning so far. And eventually, I was connected to Don't Cage Our Oceans, which is a small NGO. It's very niche. They focus on helping with like aquaculture, which is basically agriculture but for the ocean. There's been a new wave of trying to industrialize our oceans to make the same type of situations that are cow farms and chicken coops, but doing that for sea creatures like salmon, a lot of finfish. So I am their policy intern. So I'm working very much on seafood imports and writing memos for them. Um, and it's just very exciting. It's very new. It's on the environment side. When I came to DC trying to focus on civil rights. It's a very transition, but I'm very happy with it because I would not have that transition or learn about this had I not had this unfortunate circumstance happen. So making lemonade out of my lemons.
That's great. Yes, thank you. All right. Colleen, so I actually also want to know about a little bit your position, but also about how you decided to continue and stay in DC in your current role.
Um, yeah, definitely. So, well, I mean, when I went into the Masters of International Affairs program, it's kind of like the idea was that eventually I was going to have to move to Washington, D.C. because let's be real, a good majority of the jobs for that kind of degree is here in D.C. and there's a lot of opportunity here without a doubt. My current role, I work in procurement for a defense contractor, HII. We make the aircraft carriers for the Navy and the nuclear submarines. So I actually got involved with shipbuilding issues in my first internship when I moved to DC. So I worked for a federal agency at the GAO, which is a branch of Congress that does oversight on the entire federal government, audit and oversight. And I got assigned to the Homeland Security Coast Guard team. So I worked with the Coast Guard and I learned a lot about their Arctic icebreaker shipbuilding, which is a disaster, by the way. But that was really interesting. That really piqued my interest. So I wanted to kind of continue down that path. Um, but that was temporary and I couldn't stay with them because the government was on a CR at the time back in 2024. And a lot of agencies don't hire under CR either. So it's been over a year of not hiring for them at this point. Um, but then I was pretty lucky to score an internship with the Senate at the US Senate where I leveraged some of my Coast Guard experience to work on some shipbuilding issues. And I attended a lot of hearings and networked with people in that world. And that was also temporary. I managed to snag a role at HI, which I'm very happy to be at. So there's a lot of networking opportunities in DC, and if you find your niche, find what interests you, you can pursue that and keep the ball moving.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who don't know, can you explain what a CR is?
Oh yes, the continuing resolution.
Mm.
So the government, they pass a budget, right? But they haven't passed a budget in a while, so they do a thing called a continuing resolution, which basically extends the old budget. So we've been on an extension for about the past year, and now that the government is shut down, it's because they couldn't agree on an extension or a new budget. So the
Yeah.
CR has been difficult in DC too, and now obviously it's shut down, which is a different problem for many people.
Right, right, absolutely. So I'm going to hold you for this next question too.
Mhm.
And this goes for all three of you. How have the three of you seen DC change in the recent months, given current administration, the shutdown, whether it's in terms of your work priorities, your or just the overall feel of DC? I'm also thinking about the networks that you've created while you've been there as well.
Sure. Do you want me to start this
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
Yeah, I moved here in last September, so was here for like the transition period and the initial chaos that was happening here, I suppose. But priorities wise, yeah, there was like a shift when the administrations changed. That happens every administration change. People move jobs quite a bit to nonprofits or to federal agencies, kind of back and forth. Um, in my world, the shipbuilding world, it was actually not too bad because in shipbuilding, it's become a huge priority for the current administration. So we've seen a lot of um, political fights and funding changes and newfound interest in the issue. So in the shipbuilding world, it hasn't been too bad, but I definitely know a lot of people in the federal government that have different stories, really depending on what you're focused on. Um, I can't say the city has changed too much. Since the shutdown has had more of an effect than anything else. Like here at HI, all of our contracts are funded, but you can tell people are kind of apprehensive about like they don't know what's happening next, so we're kind of like slow walking things, and decisions are being made more slowly because we don't know what's coming next down the line. So there is a sort of apprehension in there, and I'm sure that can be said for most NGOs, contractors, and federal employees. Um, so we'll see how the dust settles on this one.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, Priyanga, yeah, so tell me a little bit about how you've seen, well, obviously with your work change, but yeah, tell us a little bit about how that went for you.
So, when I arrived in DC, it was very much a shift. A lot of people, even my first day to the job, I took an Uber, and the Uber driver was telling me it's very different culturally. Things were a little bit more calm. There are a lot of National Guards walking around, but it's at the same time, it seems like people are still moving, the wheels are still churning. People are they're still committed to the work they do, particularly people that are working for, progressive causes. And even conservative causes, they're still putting out a lot of their energy and effort. And it's very visible because the events are still happening, and that's why I was able to, for transparency purposes, after the shutdown, I did have a moment of like depression. Like I was very upset. It's not a reflection of myself, but once I was able to get out of that, I went to those events, and in those events, I was able to meet a lot of people that are still committed to their causes. And in that process, I've learned how important networking is. And it was through networking that I was able to secure this new position with Don't Cage Our Oceans. It was a connection through a connection. And then I was able to talk to them. And the most they could do is connect you, but it's also your responsibility to make your impression on that person and gain that new connection. And that is how I got this internship. And honestly, it took me about a week and a half to secure this one, but I just got lucky because of the connections that I was making, which it was an effort that I was putting in. It was a commitment that I made to myself when I came to DC because networking was not my strong suit. So I went out of my way to talk to people that even didn't their views weren't aligned with mine. And even if I didn't agree with them, I found that there were lessons to be learned from them, and there's you could get connections through them. Recently, I went to a summit hosted by the Richard Nixon Institute, and our views don't align. However, in that process, I was able to meet the ambassador from Jamaica, and we were able to exchange cards, which is crazy. I still can't think about it. But it's through those, channels that you don't expect that you could really network and meet new people, and who you meet can later on help you in your time of need. And I was able to only be where I am right now because those people. So very important to network. And one thing about DC, it is a very network culture area. It's very different than New York, very different from many other places. You meet someone, the next day there's an email in your mailbox, saying it was nice to meet you, which is not really normal in New York. So I had to really learn that the hard way. And after a while, I'm still learning. And I hope to keep learning and, expand my network so that one day, hopefully, I could be someone that connects you guys too.
Yeah, and I think that kind of speaks to Colleen's point about a lot of people shift around a lot, and I think that also goes into we're very much in a work generation where it's not as common to be at one place at one time. We are exploring a lot of our different interests, at different sectors, companies, etc. So yeah, I think that speaks to that as well. Okay, JV, so tell me, how has DC changed for you in the recent months, whether it was with policy priorities or, overall job landscape, and even now being in Seoul, like how is that transition?
Well, I want to touch on the overall job landscape part. Well, DC has definitely become more dynamic, especially international development related roles. There's a lot of movement here and there, but also a sense of uncertainty, particularly for international students like me, on how to like navigate work opportunities here. But for me, I guess that's meant being more flexible. It is not like it does not necessarily mean that I have to change plans, but I need to add backup ones. My main goal in joining the DC program when I was doing my application is that I want to connect with people from international organizations and think tanks, which I've been fortunate to do successfully because we also have like a strong alumni network here. And I'm also connecting with people outside of the IU network through LinkedIn. So I'm reaching out to people working in international organizations or think tanks like, hey, want to grab some coffee? Maybe I want to have your thoughts about this and that. Also, I'm like expanding my options geographically and keeping the door open to like opportunities elsewhere, including maybe a possible return to the UNEP FI where I previously interned, if there's an opportunity. On the second question, I think my first master's program in Korea back in 2021 to 23 really prepared me for this. Um, Facing like job market challenges as a non-native speaker, like a non-native Korean speaker, taught me how to adapt and stay like proactive. And that kind of built the same mindset that I have now, especially as an international student, figuring out how to build a career in a constantly shifting environment.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, thank you for also touching upon the kind of the challenges that you're facing as an international student. Yeah, I very much we hear that a lot with having to expand your options, and so it's really good to hear from your perspective as well. And really that you're hammering that in too. Okay, so the three of you already talked about how important networking is, which I love. Like, there's not like I didn't pay them, I promise. Um, and we didn't prep too much before this. So, but now I want to turn into a little bit more on the, I guess, like the personal, like work, the life part of the work-life balance that you've experienced in DC. What are some of the ways that you find yourself grounding yourself outside of work in DC? Um, is there an experience that you can share about your relocation to DC? And I'll start with Priyanga.
So this is my first time ever living outside of New York City. I went to school in New York City, lived in New York City. So this is my first experience alone, without anybody, without family. So I was very scared, but I found just being open and kind and just being willing to make relationships with people around you helped. Immediately, the roommates that I was assigned with, we started talking and getting along with each other and just being more very open with each other. And that allowed us to kind of rely on each other in the moments that we missed home. But outside of that, it's definitely important to explore where you are, because if you stay at home, if it's a situation you're going to school, work, and come home, you're not feeling like you're part of the place. It's very important for you to understand your surrounding, your environment, what's available to you, and that will help you feel more homey. That'll help you feel like this is a place that you can be and not places that you just dropped into. So that allowed me to then actually appreciate the little things, like everyday moments, going out for a walk or going we like to call the scooters or scoots. So we've been taking the scooters, and that experience has given us like this little childhood joy. Um, and that really like solidified us exploring a lot of places because we really enjoyed just having that moment with our roommates, just exploring. And then aside from that, it's finding activities to do aside from school and work. It's going to the gym, maybe. It could be smaller, it could be big, it could be, or just once. Sometimes we do this thing where once a weekend after classes, we all get together and we just watch TV together. Or a situation like we go out to the orchard or something at least once a week. Something small, something big. It depends on the mood, but that will help you transition um, your world, and that can help you actually feel positive at work and your schoolwork. I think it actually influenced a lot of my ability to actually focus and not be depressed about, not being home. And one thing I would say, it's very important though, you need to be very good at time management, and it is a learning process for a lot of people, including myself. It's still a learning process, but being organized, maybe a planner, it could be written or online, that helps schedule your time out. And that's very important if you're going to be at school and at work or internships, so that you can fit when you're going to do your work in that time. And it'll help you not be stressed out. And I know procrastination is everybody's favorite thing to do, but planning out your procrastination helps.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, Colleen.
Yeah, DC is a beautiful city and it's a very touristy city. So I definitely say like do all the touristy stuff. There's lots of museums and historical things to see, and it can eat up the first like couple months of your time here, just like exploring all the sights to see in DC, which is really nice. And it's a very bikeable city. If you like riding your bike, there's bike lanes everywhere, which is like pretty cool. But one thing I didn't really expect to get into when I moved here is I got into beach volleyball. I play on like four teams. There's some courts in Arlington, Virginia, which is right across the river. The metro takes you there. Great public transit here too, by the way. Probably it's one of the best in the country. Um, and yeah, I play beach volleyball like 4 days a week. So after work, that's probably where I'm going today. So keeps me busy, And it's a great way to meet. I've met a lot of people through it and a lot of friends, and people in DC are very interesting. It's like you'll meet someone, play volleyball with them for so long, whatever, and then you're like, like, what do you do? And they're like, oh, I met this guy who's like, I invented a way to communicate with satellites with lasers in space, and NASA bought it. And I was like, okay, that's crazy. But like, nice to meet you, So you'll meet all sorts of interesting characters here through like activities like that, no doubt. So yeah, I mean, part of it's having fun, part of it's networking. and enjoying your time here.
Yeah, I'm laughing over here because I kid you not, I'm also in a beach volleyball league. Our season just ended, but you play a lot more than I do. One day a week is more than enough for me. But yes, I am a very big fan of like rec sports as like a
Yeah,
way to meet people. Absolutely.
no
Uh,
doubt.
yeah. All right, JV, we'll turn to you.
Okay. I think I'm kind of lucky that I have like family members in Maryland, so that's where I'm currently based. Yeah. So recently we just adopted a dog, and it's kind of taking much of my free time at home. So since most of the people at home are busy, I am the caretaker. I mean, the father figure of the dog. If anything, like I think my lesson learned is just to show up, whether it's at work or in life, in networking or in like family gatherings and stuff. I think that's important because these uncertainties, the thinking of like what your future might be, might like get in the way of your building personal connections with people. So I think it's important to just not network, but also just like to purposely show up with to like a lot of commitments that you make. May it be like evening classes, because I do evening classes in DC, or like in scheduled coffee chats with people, or even like in Sunday getaway to like wherever with family members. And I think it will also like shape you as someone who's like able to handle different commitments at different times.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, it's lovely that you have family nearby. We've done this panel a couple of times now, and I believe you're like our second panelist that has been able to say that, yeah, I had a really good family connection in DC, and like living in the DMV area is very helpful as well. So yeah. All right, this is my last question, but I'm going to kind of fold it into two parts. So, one, I would like for you to reflect back on when you were applying to your DC programs, to your positions that you had. What was the one thing or what was one thing that you were nervous about or anxious about, and how did you overcome it? And basically, I want you to give your old self advice when in applying for the short-term opportunity in DC. And JV, I think I want to start with you.
Okay. So if I would tell my past self like any advice, I would say like go all in. I feel like DC is like a place where coffee chats can really change your life. Like one cup of coffee, a short conversation could really turn into something. So always be intentional with your networking, and always be genuine. I feel like people can see your intention, and if you're not like very genuine about it, it might like impact your networking and like you're building connections with people. Reach out to alumni, use LinkedIn wisely. Don't just like message random people. Like choose your network. Show up to events, whether it be university organized or like other events that you feel like doing or attending. And you treat every conversation, maybe from a professional or from a classmate, as a learning opportunity. This event in Seoul is like really not academic related. I just found it, and I feel like I can learn a lot from it, aside from it being fully funded. And DC offered me like the flexibility to be anywhere while still attending classes. So that's that. And also like don't underestimate the adjustment period. DC is a fast city. You'll be surprised maybe. But if you keep your why very clear and you know your core, I think it will be like an incredibly rewarding experience for you. And like just now you start your internship search early. I applied to my internship with UNEP FI like October of last year, and I only heard from them like February of this year. That was like a long wait. So like just go send out those applications, send out those networking emails, and who knows what will happen next.
Yeah, thank you so much, JV. I very much agree with you in the timeline. I always tell students and alumni that employers, they don't work on your calendar. They don't work on each other's calendars. They operate on their own. So really that time management aspect, Priyanka, like that you mentioned, is very important in considering, let's go for this opportunity. Let's do it. All right. Priyanka, tell us about what advice you would have given yourself when you were applying.
The biggest one would be believe in yourself. She knows because I was in her Zoom calls, not believing in myself. So for me, it was very much believing that I did the work, I accomplished what I have accomplished, and I deserve a seat at the table. It was definitely like a personal experience to get that far. And then it was a matter of being able to convey that in words. It's hard to convey something in words that you're not fully feeling in yourself, but when you're in that circumstances, like reach out. There are services at school. I would make appointments. So as Samantha, and I made appointments with the writing center, they listen, they're trying to help you. And it was through that process that I was able to write the personal statements to get into the Washington semester program. And then following that process helped me then translate it to when I was applying for my internships. The thing with like NGOs and is that there's always a cover letter, and that cover letter can sell. That's what's really selling you. It's really speaking to who you are. So because I learned that from my application with the Washington semester, I was able to translate that during my applications for the internships. And like JV said, apply early. Internships that starts in September and August, they open as early as March. And sometimes they close as early as June. So being really on top of that is very important. I've already started doing my search for the spring and applying for spring. And one thing I learned very importantly is Excel sheets. Excel sheets will save your life. Please, please get an Excel sheet. And it just will keep a track of, when the internships are, the requirements, the due dates. And that will help you, like I said, procrastinate, but managed procrastination because it's inevitable. I'm not even going to tell you not to do it. But that that helped me with my cycle to get here. And the waiting process, though, I had to keep reminding myself it's okay if I don't get something. Be don't knock yourself down because you're rejected. Because as my brother said, he applied to 300 positions and he had 2 people call back, and one person gave him the job. So I kept reminding myself that every single day, that if I didn't get a response, or if I got rejected, I kept telling myself there'll be one person. And in the end, that hope allowed me to get the one position that I really wanted from the very beginning. The whole reason I applied to the Washington semester is to be in her office. And so that belief definitely carried me. And I generally believe in the whole idea of law of attraction. If you really believe it, it will come to you. You just have to, it's more than just believe though. You have to put in your work, you have to stay committed, and it'll come to you.
That was lovely. Thank you. All right. Last but not least, Colleen, and yeah, what advice would you have given yourself when you applied for the internship program? Let's start there.
Um, yeah, for the first internship when I moved out to DC, I would kind of echo a lot of what's already been said. Particularly apply early, especially with the federal government. I mean, I probably applied to that position in April of 24 and I moved out in September. So like it's a solid, 4 or 5 month process. And it's especially now as things are kind of moving slower around here in certain industries and certain parts. So, and don't get discouraged because it is a numbers game, right? Like you'll send out hundreds of applications and most of them probably won't even respond to you at all. And that's just the name of the game nowadays. I found myself unemployed twice here in DC already. I've already ran through this is my third job in the past year and some change. The internships were temporary. Um, so I've definitely been through this process of just applying to hundreds of jobs and messaging people on LinkedIn. That helps a lot. Talking to your friends, your connections, because they might know somebody who knows somebody who really needs help in some certain area that you just happen to line up in. So, yeah, don't get discouraged, really. I think that's probably my biggest takeaway. Even when you get 50 plus rejections in a row, just keep going. You don't know what's at the other end of the tunnel. And yeah.
Yeah. And then I'll return the question actually back to you for because you are our one DC resident, what is something that you're actually looking forward to in your whether it's to close out the end of the year or perhaps that's something that you see happening with yourself personally or professionally in the next year?
In the next year, I hope to move within my company, hopefully in the next few months, because a lot of like the defense contract world, for example, they're all huge companies that have presence in all 50 states and international presence and all of that. And the job I got now is I like it. It's interesting, but it's not exactly what I wanted, but it's like you got to get your foot in the door somewhere. So, once you get your foot in the door, you get good at what you do, you make some friends, and then you can kind of look towards what's next, right? What would I if this isn't it, then what would I rather do? So me personally, I hope to either move up or move within the company towards, oh, we'll see.
Yeah.
There's a lot of functions that they have. We're a huge company, so and also Christmas in DC is a pretty good time. So I do like the winter here. They do a lot of like Christmas markets and decorations and lights everywhere and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, that's lovely. Absolutely. All right. I did think of one more question because all three of you touched upon this. Your Excel trackers, your job trackers, etc. I consider myself a little bit of an Excel nerd or whatever. Um, what was something that you, aside from checking off like um, oh, I got the offer or something like that. What was something that you looked forward to when you were tracking like the different applications you were that you applied to? And there's no such thing as a dull answer in the situation. I feel like everyone's got a little bit of a different answer to that. Like, what are they looking forward to when they get to mark something off or add something in? I'm gonna throw it to anyone here.
Well, I'll go because for me, it was very much just a way to get my life together. Um, so I looked forward to actually my favorite part was adding in all the internships because it showed just like the vast variety because not it was
Mm.
I put the internships, but I also put like the type of internship it was. So it was a category that showed like the different categories I was exploring. And I did focus on the legislative policy, but then there were some that were outside of that. So that showed me that, there are different avenues. It was just like it was a moment of doing something like, oh, this internship is cool, but then when you're reflecting on it and you're seeing it on the Excel sheet, it shows that you're expanding your horizon. And then when I also put a like status section, and then that was where like, when I got to check off or interview, like that process when I put interview process is when I really it would daunt on me that there's progression, and that progression, even if it didn't end well, um, it was to show that there is movement, and that movement will happen, and then you'll stop exactly where you need to be stopped. And everything does happen for a reason. I got this position that I wanted the whole reason, but then things turned around and I'm not able to work for them. But now, because of those circumstances, I am learning from a whole different perspective. I'm working from like a nonprofit that's lobbying for their causes, which gives me a whole different perspective on what I'm learning. So when it comes to Excel trackers, I would definitely make it a point to put like categorize what you're applying for, because it will give you kind of a moment of self-reflection of, all that you're capable of. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely, lovely. All right. Either JV or Colleen, either one.
I can go next. In terms of like I can echo like what Priyanka was like discussing earlier about like looking forward to like at least doing some progress in your Excel sheet. I also categorize like the jobs that I applied to, but it's just two categories. Like one is like very long shot, and one is like close to my radar. And I'm always looking forward to like looking at the progress of those who are like in the long shot. I don't know if it's weird, but I feel like it kind of keeps me going to like shoot your shot. You'll never know. Because like for example, this UN internship thing, it's part of my long shot because I feel like I've submitted countless of applications with the UN and haven't heard back from them for quite some time. But then miracles, if I may put it that way, it can happen. So those are the things that will make like surprise you in the end.
Yeah, I love how you describe that long shot and within your radar. I've done this before with career changers or with people who are just looking for their next position. Like it's good to have like a safety list or of you know roles and employers that already kind of align with what you're already doing, but then kind of thinking outside of the box. Yeah, why not do the UN? And I would agree with you that a lot of candidates think that the UN feels like a long shot. So that's really inspiring to hear. All right. Last but not least, Colleen.
I don't think I have any great advice for this one, honestly. When it came to all of my applications, I did not really keep track of them. I'll just send it out into the void and we'll see if the void responds to me. And then, I was getting emails. It's like, I don't even remember applying to this one, but I got rejected, so probably don't take my advice here, but
All good, all good. But the transparency is very much appreciated. All right. So those were all my questions. I'm now going to turn it over to you all in the audience. Feel free to either raise your hand or write it in the chat. I'm more than happy. I'll read your question out loud. Um, type A versus type B. That's funny, Sophia. But yeah, if anyone has any questions for any of our panelists or all of our panelists, please feel free to write them in or raise your hand. Let's see. Let's see who will be. Okay, I'm going to give people some time to type in some questions, but I usually like to ask my panelists, what is one podcast resource or just something that you stay on top of that helps you within your career. So this can be, I'm thinking, shipbuilding. This is the most I've ever talked about shipbuilding ever. Like I'm very impressed. But yeah, like what are like the resources that you've all tapped into during this time?
I can start this one.
Mhm.
Um, well, I don't do podcasts really, but I definitely use LinkedIn more than I've ever really used it because I've made a lot of great connections, mainly on the Hill. On Capitol Hill is a great place to meet people, and everybody's kind of there to meet people. Like that's part of the game. But connect with them on LinkedIn, and then a lot of them post things, right? Like, especially in the shipbuilding world, like in the Coast Guard world, there's a lot of updates and a lot of pretty cutting edge stuff kind of floating around on LinkedIn. probably more so than other social medias when it comes to that. Twitter's pretty good too. Some of them are on Twitter. It's a hit or a miss on that one, but yeah, just connect with people personally, and then if they are in a position where they can post like from the halls of Congress, they probably have an interesting perspective.
Interesting, interesting. I think JV, I think you kind of went up there. Yeah.
I would have to agree with Callan, like being on LinkedIn would help you. And that's where like my point of like being purposeful with your network building would come into play. Because like if you intentionally build your network in a way that would help your career as well and personal growth, I think it will follow. Uh I've been able to like read articles from connections because like they're reposting it or like they're sharing their thoughts with it. And it allows me to like reflect on what I know and what I don't know yet. It's like a learning opportunity as well. And also I'm currently subscribed to like several jobs lists because it kind of provides me with like other like options in my career because these jobs lists also contain like opportunities outside of the US. So pretty interesting.
What are some of those job boards, if you don't mind me asking?
I am currently like one is the ED's Clean Energy and Sustainability
Yeah.
jobs list.
Hmm.
So he usually sends like this on a weekly basis, I think. And the other one, I no, I don't have it with me now, but the other one is like the Ed
Yeah.
Sustainability Jobs list.
Great. Yeah, yeah. I've heard of Ed's Clean Jobs list before. No, I'm really happy to hear that you use it. All right. All right,
Yeah.
Priyanga. So there's well, I do want you to answer that question about resources, and then I'll ask the question that came in through the chat. So,
Yeah.
what resources have you been tapping into?
Like I could echo that LinkedIn is a great resource. But take my advice at your own volition. But Reddit, I don't have my own account, but I do go on Reddit because it provides, because my area of interest is in policy and news. So this is a way for me to kind of get a lot of different perspective. I'm getting the news and then I read a little bit of comments to see how people are reacting to those news. And that helps me see how other people are perceiving what's happening around our country, which is what I'm invested in right now. And I don't have my own account. It's like I actively go on it without having it cater to me. So I will go to even uh, subreddits that are not that were not aligned with my views to see how they're reflecting and how they're reacting to the news as well to really get a scope of what's happening. One of the biggest lessons I've learned just over time is like you need to understand everyone's views, because if you just understand yours and people around you, you're kind of just being narrow and you can't really solve problems if you only know one way to do so. So because my career path is going towards the problem solving type of avenue, I make it a point to explore everybody's opinions, everybody's views. So that's definitely the best advice I can give you on resources wise.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now, because you've touched on that avenue of policy, Jennifer asked if you can share more about the application process for the AOC internship. That's quite an impressive position, and I'm so curious about your journey, how you got there.
So I applied prior to the priority deadline. You could always go on her website and it shows her office is very much not contact friendly because of just how profile she is. So I just applied regularly. I went to the writing center to help with my cover letter, particularly for her, because that was my top choice. And what happens is you get your first interview, and if you get your first interview, it's already a good sign, because there are a lot of applications. And after the first interview, they'll either call you back for a second interview or not. If you got a second interview, that is a very, very great sign. So the first interview was just with the operations assistant, and then the second interview was with one of the directors that are working in the district office, because not only will you be working in the DC office, you'll be working with people back in the district office as well. They are very connected. It's not a separate entity. So that allowed me to really be candid. One thing that I definitely did is I spoke from the heart. I didn't really rehearse for these interviews, because my biggest thing was my ideals, my personal ethics, and my values very much align with what her office does. So I spoke from that perspective each time. I reflected on my past and why I wanted to go towards this path. So like I tied my past, I tied my career that I've had so far with that past and what I want to do moving forward. And I spoke very candidly, like from the bottom of my heart. And I think I even cried at one point.
Oh boy. Oh man.
Yeah, because it really it was very like a passionate attempt to really show them that this is where I want to be. And I spoke from this point of, we're in a climate where it's hard to not want to give up because things are happening beyond our control. But we see people like her and Bernie Sanders not give up. And that was very important to me because that's what kind of keeps me going, knowing that there's other people not giving up, so I shouldn't either. And I could do something about it too. So I would definitely recommend just speaking from from your heart. And I feel like you really have to want it. You have to like this is it's not a I don't think just the prestige of the position is the angle that you would want to go for. I would say see why you want to work for her. Like what are some policies that she's working on? Like why does that touch you? Like what are her values that reflect with you? And why you want to be in that same setting with her and keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, and also to reiterate, you are in her district. She is
Yes.
your district representative. So
Yeah.
for anyone who is interested in a congressional internship or with an assembly person or with a congressperson, highly recommend it looking who your direct representatives are. So I think, yes, like what you were saying, Priyanka, about, you have a lot of like personal lived experience. That lived experience also ties in because she's your district person too.
Yeah.
So,
It
absolutely.
I feel it I just was like I applied to a different congresswoman and like her like I didn't get that one because I wasn't part of her district. So it wasn't a reflection of myself. They will very much look for people that are in their district because it's people in their district they believe will understand the plights of the people in their district, and they want to give back to their district. It's particularly her. But I wouldn't discourage you from not applying. I know the DC office very much takes. Actually the first Bronx resident to work in the DC office. Most people actually come from schools here. So I would not discourage you because, like Davey said, shoot your shot. You never know. So long as you like really trust yourself, you might actually get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Colleen with a question, or not even a question, a follow-up.
Yeah, I can add to the like the political sphere if you want to get a job in the
Yeah.
world of politics. They definitely do heavily prefer people from within the district or within the state if you are applying on the Senate side. The Senate and the House of Representatives both run a resume bank. They have an office for employment. They refer people to the offices. I recommend putting your resume in their resume banks there. Offices pull from it all the time. And then they have the Senate runs a job board, their own job board site, and it'll say like it won't say exactly who the representative is. It'll be like a conservative senator needs help doing yada yada yada, and then they'll have like special email addresses to apply for just that job. So that's one way to get into the Hill. And I linked Traverse Jobs. It's a popular job board and policy here in DC. They tend to post all of the Hill jobs, even like the more obscure ones on there. And then even more so because they're trying to filter ideologically aligned people into their own offices. A lot of the think tanks maintain job boards of less publicly advertised jobs that you can like get on their jobs list. Like for example, the Heritage Foundation maintains a job list that's emailed out every week. You can put yourself on the list and that's jobs, in conservative politics, and the liberal counterparts, do the same thing. So there's like committees too that refer people to jobs within the Hill. Um so if you are interested in that world, I recommend putting in the resume banks, getting on the job boards, checking your email on the weekly email blasts. Um, and yeah, that's a good way to get it. With the internships, it's usually just straight through the office, but sometimes they have like specific like communications internship or like marketing or PR. Like they do all sorts of like sub positions. But yeah, I recommend looking into all those.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point too, is that like that this is something that we practice in like non-federal positions or non-DC positions, like follow the employer that you are interested in. Very similarly, like yeah, follow the, you know, think of if you think of like a think tank that you are, interested in working with, you're saying that Heritage Foundation keeps an email list. A lot of it's good to know that a lot of employers are still doing that with their lists, especially I guess in a time where we hear like you could send in loads of applications. It's kind of good to know that there's still like a main hub for some of these. So yeah. Priyanga. Oh, you're on mute. Sorry.
I just wanted to follow up that be mindful that some offices have a lot more interns. Some offices have 12 interns or 17 interns, whereas where AOC's office, it was just two people here and two people in the district office. So don't get um discouraged. It's a matter of just space. For her, it's because she pays her interns. So the funds are limited, so she only has two. Whereas like most other offices don't pay their interns. But if you are part of Baruch, I would definitely recommend still applying because we have the Haggerty Scholarship. A lot of people in this cohort that I'm with received that scholarship, and that's how they're able to do the internship that they're doing right now. So don't limit yourself. Yeah, and yeah, definitely don't get discouraged. I would definitely find out about how many interns that they have. That's probably a question that you would ask in an interview. Like I wasn't familiar with that because I don't have anyone in my life that went through this process. But definitely when your first interview, like ask like how many interns are there, so you kind of get a scope of what you're walking into.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks so much. All right, everyone, we're at the hour. I cannot believe that we were able to fill this entire hour. I mean, I knew we were going to, but everyone, if you could please help and thank our lovely three panelists today. Anyone who was here, I will be sending out a copy of the recording along with all the helpful links shared. Throughout today's chat. We do have one final event for the DC Virtual Trek this Thursday. It's in collaboration with the Middlebury Institute on International Development and hearing about what that space is up to. So thank you again, Priyanga, JV, and Colleen. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences and all this great advice. I hope that you get to connect with some NASPAA students and alums who want to follow in your footsteps and figure out a short-term thing in DC. So yes. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your week, and we look forward to seeing you hopefully on Thursday. Thanks all.
Thank you. Bye bye.